Hello! Welcome back to HT Youth Connect. Here we are again. It's our third week of being online. I'm going to say it again. We miss you guys so much. But thanks for joining us. We've got so much to cram into today. All four of our big values of HT Youth. Fun, family, I nearly forgot. All four of our values of HT Youth. Fun, family, faith, and fruit, all going to be crammed into this video, hopefully. So, hello, welcome back. Hey, I would love to hear from you guys. Let us know how you're getting on. The youth team, basically, you can be in contact as much as you like, because the youth team, I just would love to be praying for you. And it's so super weird not being able to gather, but it's cool when we can do little things to kind of say hello to each other and remind ourselves where we're at and how things are going. And so, please do that, take part. We're going to kick off this video with our fun, mostly because we need to do it quickly. It's going to take me a while to recover from this. It's hilarious. But the context is, we're on YouTube now, and you know, it's a different world. And they call us the YouTube generation because when we don't know how to do something, we can just find out on YouTube, right? And one of the things you find on YouTube, if you scroll around, is these tutorials about, you know, how to train your hamster to do a backflip or whatever. And some of the tutorials, you know, aren't very helpful, but some of them are genuinely life-changingly helpful. And you know, I think that's what we have for you today. A life-changingly helpful YouTube tutorial. Ellie, one of our youth leaders, is actually from Newcastle. You might not know that. She's a secret Geordie, and she's currently living up there because of the lockdown. And she has compiled for you a life-changingly useful guide, basically on how to communicate with a Geordie. I'll hand over to Ellie.
Alright, it's Ellie here. I'm speaking to you from my home in Newcastle, or as you see in the south, Newcastle. So I've been here a while, and me Geordie accent's coming back. So here's 5 words you can learn at home. Hawe, man, the kebab van's leaving. Hawe, a general proclamation of encouragement. Next word is Raji. He's a proper Raji, you know. He's a proper Raji. Raji, a generally aggressive or reprehensible fellow, often one who flips tables. Pure belter, proper belter, pure belter, a general proclamation of joy. I'm literally buzzing, enthusiastic or excited. Unlike the south. Tune. I'm gannon doon tune. Town, or more specifically, Newcastle. So that's all from me. Practice makes perfect, and gan canny pals. I think she's saying goodbye, but I didn't quite catch that last bit. So bye anyway.
Oh dear. Thank you, Ellie. I think you'll agree, guys, life-changingly useful. Your challenge is to try and use that in like a sentence this week. Use as many of those as you can. You know, walk up to someone and be like, Hawe man, or pure belter, or whatever. My accent is so bad, but I'm sure you can do better. So somehow now I have to transition to the next section of this video. Composure. Presenter face. That was our fun. We're going to move to our faith bit in a minute. Isabel's going to speak to us. But before we do, I wanted to chat a bit about family. One of the weirdest things about lockdown is not being able to be together with other people, as I'm sure you're aware. And the thing that's particularly weird about it is that church is all about being together. So, you know, church it's not about a building. I saw, I'm part of many sort of slightly cringy Christian Facebook groups, and one of them posted this week a picture of an old church building with a sign outside it that said, "The building is closed, the church is open." Proper cheesy, but also true. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We can't be in church together at the moment, but we can still be church. Now, I know that church is made up of loads of different groups of people, You might be someone who's discovering faith in Jesus for the first time. You might be exploring what this whole Christian thing means, not really sure 100% where you stand. You might be like, you know what, I'm in for this. I want to follow Jesus to the best of my ability for the rest of my life. You might be somewhere in between one of those groups. You're still part of church, but the question is, how can we be church when we can't be in church? What does it look like for us to be a church community at the moment? Wherever you are on that kind of spectrum, or even if you're just looking in from the outside, what does it mean for us to be a church community when we can't be in church? Here are a few ideas for you today that I would really recommend. The first one is show up. As in, watch this. You're already watching this. But stick it in your diary. We're going to be doing this every week until we're allowed to meet together again at 5:30 on a Sunday evening. Stick it in your diary. Say, you know what, I'm going to turn up to church every week. And I would really recommend turning up to the HT online service as well. You can go there now. If you go to HT Cambridge website, there's like an HT online page, and there's like a service that goes up every Sunday. There'll be some worship songs, there'll be a talk, there'll be some prayers. So show up to that. It's a way of being part of the church community, even when we can't be in church together, is to show up every week. So that's the first way. Maybe that's kind of obvious, but it's a way to do it. The second thing I would say is be part of a small group. One of the things that we do at HT Youth normally, as you probably know, is we have small group time. Someone will give a talk or whatever, a bit like we're doing on these videos, and then we go off into small groups and we talk about it and we share what our questions are and we share our thoughts and our doubts and the things that encourage us and everything like that. And right now it's hard not being able to do that. One of the ways we can do it though is in our WhatsApp small groups. And if you're not in one already, there's a form you can join. You can sign up on the HT Youth Connect webpage, get a parent to give you permission for that. But basically they're a place where we can do that kind of thing. Talk about how we're doing, share our thoughts, our questions, share stuff that's encouraging us, stuff that we're thinking about God, stuff that God's saying to us. And my encouragement would be, if you're on a group like that, or I know that some groups are doing it over email, or you can do it in any old way, don't just wait for the youth leaders to initiate stuff. You guys can post as well. You guys can ask questions. You guys can share how you're doing. You guys can encourage one another. This is a time maybe to learn even more than before what it looks like to be family for one another. What it looks like for us to take responsibility for that happening and not just the youth leaders. Hey guys, this is Steve speaking from the future. Because I realised I forgot to say, it may be that there are some of you watching this video who haven't been part of a small group in HT Youth before, or maybe you just haven't been part of one for a while and you don't feel connected right now. That's cool. If you don't feel connected and you want to be, if you want to be a part of a small group, maybe you're not so sure about WhatsApp, but you still want to be part of one, then please get in touch. You can send Steve an email. That's me. You can send me an email at stephen.conacher@htcambridge.org.uk, or you can find my email address on the website. Get in touch and let me know, because we would love to get you stuck in. All right, back to me in the past. So that's the second thing in small groups, whether that's WhatsApp or email, or you might even want to write cards, whatever that looks like. The third thing, excitingly, is that the youth team are currently thinking of ways that we can do small groups and do face-to-face and do family during this lockdown time. And the first thing we're going to do is next Sunday, we're going to have an Easter Zoom party. I am so excited about this. Our Easter Zoom party is going to be 6 o'clock until 7 on Easter Sunday. We're still going to have one of these HT Youth Connect videos, so you can watch it beforehand at 5:30. And then we're going to jump onto Zoom all together, as many people as want to come. And we're going to actually see each other's faces and play some stupid games. And if we have time, we'll break off into small groups and maybe spend a bit of time sharing how we're doing and praying. And it's going to be awesome. It's our Easter Zoom party. It's going to be completely bonkers. But there is a sign-up form for that. You have to sign up. It's on the HT Youth Connect page. And guys, it's going to be so fun. Sign up for our Easter Zoom party, 6 to 7 p.m. next Sunday on Easter Day. Easter is coming. And so now, to help us prepare for Easter in some ways, to help us think about, the storyline of Easter that we're about to kind of enter into, Isabel's going to come share with us. And I'm going to pray, because I feel like I haven't prayed yet on this video, and that's probably a mistake. So let me pray as Isabel shares something with us. Father, thank you so much that you made a church, you made a group of people to be together. Thank you that you teach us and you want us to learn about you. Thank you that you care for every one of us and where we're at right now. And I pray that you would use what Isabel's about to say to teach us, to speak to us, to help us to understand more about you and more about the good news that we have. In Jesus' name, amen. Over to Isabel.
I don't know about you guys, but when we look online and in the media at the moment, I think for me it just feels like there's so much doom and gloom, and it's understandable in some ways because we are in the midst of a global pandemic. But I think it's just nice to take a step back and look at some of the good news that's around. So here's some good news from the past couple of weeks. Switzerland lit up a whole mountain with the Italian flag to show their support for Italy. The NHS hit their volunteer target in one day. There's been a decline in air pollution because there aren't as many flights and people aren't travelling. And then communities are being built online. People are coming together and showing support for their neighbours. They're reaching out to those who are isolated. And there's just a massive sense of community being built at the moment. But with everything else that's going on, it feels like this is getting lost. And it's so easy for good news to get lost or forgotten about. And this includes the best news of all. The best news is that we have a God who saves. We don't need to worry about everything that's going on because we have good news. So let's read our passage. It's John 18, 28 to 40. If you've got a Bible, then go ahead and grab it. If not, I'm going to read it so you can just sit and listen. And this is when Jesus goes before Pilate. Then the Jewish leaders took Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now, it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, they did not enter the palace because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man?" "If he were not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." "But we have no right to execute anyone," they objected. And this took place to fulfill what Jesus had said about the kind of death he was going to die. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus and asked him, "Are you the King of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked, "or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of the truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again to the Jews gathered there and said, "I find no basis to charge against him. But it is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of the Passover. Do you want me to release the King of the Jews?" They shouted back, "No, not him. Give us Barabbas." Now Barabbas had taken part in an uprising. Let me ask you, would you rather have teeth for toes or toes for teeth? Would you rather have hair for fingernails or fingernails for hair? Some would you rathers are quite difficult because, if I'm honest, I wouldn't want to have toes for teeth or teeth for toes or fingernails for hair or hair for fingernails. But then there's some would you rathers which are quite easy. Would you rather release a guilty man or an innocent one? The answer seems obvious, doesn't it? Release the innocent one. But in this passage, the crowd wanted Barabbas to be released. In their eyes, Jesus came and disrupted their lives and challenged them. And that seemed worse. Barabbas was being charged for being part of an uprising. He was a criminal, and you could say he's bad news. He most likely lived a life that was full of bad news. But when Jesus took his place, this was good news for Barabbas. Barabbas was given freedom from the crimes he had committed. There's always going to be bad things in the world. We're always going to see hurt or pain or suffering because of the fall. But the good news is that we can have an eternity free from all of that. And so we don't need to worry about what's happening around us. In this passage, Barabbas represents us. We are covered in sin, and we don't meet God's glorious standard. But when Jesus steps in to die for us, he takes that sin away, and he makes us clean. And because of Jesus, we are able to spend eternity with our Father. And that's good news. And while we have this hope and good news, it doesn't mean our life's going to be easy. The bad things don't automatically disappear. There might be another global pandemic, hopefully not in our lifetime though. And while we're on this earth, we're still going to face hurt and pain and suffering. But what the good news means is that we have something to look forward to. We have a hope and a future. And because as long as we've decided to follow Jesus, we can have an eternity that's free from all of these things. We don't need to worry because we have good news. As a bit of a response time, I wonder whether you might want to find a nice quiet space and just spend a bit of time and write down some of these things that are worrying you. Write it down on a post-it note or just a small bit of paper. And once you've written it down, I think you should just take a bit of time to pray it through. Pray about whatever it is you've written down and ask God to remind you of his good news. Once you've prayed, take a piece of paper, you might have a couple of them, just screw it up and then throw it in the bin. I think it's really important at the moment that we take some time to focus on the good news. It can be so easy to get bogged down by all the bad news, but it's really good to just focus on the good news we have. You might want to look up some of the things in the media at the moment that are good and that are happening, and just spend time thanking God for them and thanking God that despite everything that's going on, he is good and he is faithful, and just thank him that we have this hope in him.
Thank you, Isabel. I'm going to suggest actually we just pray for a moment. If you're watching this video, you might want to close your eyes. You might want to find a quiet spot. I think that's such an encouraging message from Isabel. That in the midst of bad news, there is this incredible good news and this incredible hope. Because Jesus has taken our place and because of the cross that we're going to be celebrating on Good Friday later this week. So why don't we pray for a moment? Why don't we just be quiet? And if you have some paper to hand, you might want to do what Isabel said and just write down what are the things that would worry you at the moment. What is the bad news maybe? Might be personal, might be national. What's the bad news that kind of gets to you, that distracts you, that grabs your attention, that gets you down? You might want to actually write it down, or you might just want to think about it. If it's helpful to you, it's something that's helpful to me, you might want to hold out your hands open and just imagine that you're holding those worries and those things that would get to you. And I know this is slightly weird because it's a video, but let's actually take 30 seconds or so in quiet with God to just bring our worries and the bad news that's going on in our lives to him. We do that for 20, 30 seconds, just in quiet together. You might want to pause the video if you want a bit more time to do that. But now what we can do, like Isabel said, if you've written it down, you can literally scrunch it up and chuck it in the bin. As a way of saying, God, I give you the bad news, I give you the worries, I give you the anxieties. If you're holding out your hands, you might just want to kind of shake them off. As a way of being like, God, I give this to you. You hold my worries and my cares. And instead, what I want to pick up, what I want to carry in my heart, in my life, what I want to carry is that Jesus is my good news. In the midst of everything going on in this world, Jesus is my good news. Jesus has taken my place. Jesus gives me hope of a life now with God and a life with God forever. That is awesome. I'm excited. One of the ways that we can respond to this video, to kind of bring us to our last section of fruit, is by taking time this week to dig into the cross and to spend time thinking about the cross and what Jesus has done for us together. Earlier this week on the HT Youth Connect page, we put up the resources from the start of this term. It's a series called How We Change, and there's a whole bunch of things on there about how we can spend time with God alone at home. Because that's one of the ways that God transforms us, is when we make space and time to be with Him. And I've said it in the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to say it again. This might be just a perfect opportunity. This stage of our lives, when lots of us have got lots more time, it could be the perfect opportunity to spend a bit of extra time with God. So go to those resources and actually have a think, how is it that I'm going to use the time I've got right now to let God speak to me, to spend time with Him, to make space. Even if you're someone who's not really sure where you stand at the moment, hey, I think the best way to get to know God actually is to give it a try, to pray, to read the Bible. You have nothing to lose, and you might just have everything to gain. So I'd recommend that. This week, starting tonight on our Instagram account, we have a road to the cross. We're going through Holy Week, which is the week leading up to Easter, and every day, starting from today until Saturday, and then obviously Sunday is Easter, we're going to be thinking about a different part of the story that Jesus lived on his way to Easter. And I would recommend go on Instagram every day. You don't need an account. I think you can go to the website, instagram.com/HT_youth, and you can follow along every day with a little thoughts, little passages in the Bible to read, little prayers, little challenges, as a way of preparing our hearts, remembering what Jesus has done, filling our minds with the good news instead of with all the bad news of the world that's around us. And you know what? When we get that good news, we can carry it out. And I've said every week, and I'll say again, how is it every day, once a day, we can look out for someone that we know who might be worried, who might be having a hard time, and we can encourage them, and we can love them, and we can share the good news of Jesus, like practically by loving people, or maybe in words by sharing with them some of the hope, some of the truth that we know in Jesus. All right, this was a full video. There was loads going on today. Why not chat in your small groups on WhatsApp or send everyone an email about what you think, what's going on, what are your reflections on today. And we will see you next week. Don't forget to sign up for our Easter Zoom party because I'm so excited about that. But for now, have a great week. The youth team are praying for you guys. We love you a lot and we will see you soon. Farewell.